President Donald Trump's hush money criminal trial is on a 3-day break right now for the weekend after week 2 of the trial wrapped up Friday in New York City. Testimony began this week with questioning of 3 witnesses. David Pecker, the former publisher of the National Enquirer, testified first. At the center of his 4-day testimony was the concept of catch and kill, the phrase referring to a practice of paying for stories with the intention of quashing them rather than publishing them. On Friday, jurors also heard from Trump's longtime executive assistant, who testified about her 34 years working for the Trump Organization. Closing out the week, prosecutors accused Trump of continuing to violate the judge's gag order in the case and urged Judge Juan Merchan to hold Trump in contempt of court and fine him $1,000 for each violation. A gag order hearing is set for this coming Thursday. And we're joined now by appellate attorney Jeff Lewis. Thank you so much for being with us here on the debrief. So based on the testimony we've heard so far, do you think either the prosecution or the defense needs to shift strategy at all?
Well, certainly the prosecution doesn't. This was not a blockbuster witness that testified in the form of Mr. Pecker, but he laid the table for future blockbuster witnesses such as Mr. Cohen and Stormy Daniels. The defense so far has been pretty weak. All they've tried to do is say, well, lots of celebrities do this catch and kill thing. It really didn't have any relation to the campaign.
Is there anything you think the defense could have done differently or should do moving forward to help strengthen their case for Donald Trump?
Well, let me just say this. In terms of optics, client control is a big problem, making sure their client stays awake during trial proceedings, making sure the client doesn't try to shake the hands of witnesses, as happened last week. Those kind of optics jurors pay attention to. And in terms of substance, just making sure that the points that are made during cross-examination relate more pointedly towards the campaign as opposed to celebrities in general.
Now, you said blockbuster witnesses. We've yet to hear from the big one, Michael Cohen. Is there a piece of testimony he is expected to provide that you feel might be a smoking gun of sorts for the prosecution?
Well, in media interviews that preceded this trial, he hinted that there was going to be testimony that nobody had heard before. So people are watching for that closely, for Stormy Daniels, for Hope Hicks, and Kellyanne Conway. And let me just say one other thing. This is the first trial I've ever seen or participated in where the lawyers don't exchange in advance who the next witness is going to be on Monday. It's very odd that in this particular case, they're keeping the witnesses secret, I guess, to avoid witness intimidation issues.
Do you think that impacts the integrity and proceedings of the case to keep that under wraps until the last minute? Does that impact how things go in court?
It certainly impacts the defendant's ability to anticipate, prepare over the weekend which witnesses of 30 or 40 witnesses on the witness list they have to prepare a cross-examination for. In the long run, will it present an appellate issue if there's a conviction? I don't think so. A trial judge typically has a lot of latitude about how they run their courtroom.
Now, Trump has said, too, that multiple times he's going to be on that list. He will take the stand. Will he and should he?
Ultimately, it's his decision, not the lawyer's decision. I don't think ultimately he will. I think he will rest on hoping that the prosecution hasn't made their case and hoping to find one juror that can establish reasonable doubt. I don't think he's going to testify.
Certainly will be interesting to see. Now, this is a criminal trial, so a higher burden of proof than in a civil trial. From what you've seen so far, do you think the prosecution has laid the ground and will eventually present enough of a solid case to really sway this jury? Do you think this is, an open and shut case, or is there a lot of gray area here?
Well, they certainly set the table for Michael Cohen to testify, and a lot of this rests on the credibility of Michael Cohen. The defense is going to portray him as a liar, somebody who took a deal, as a rat. And the question is, will the jury look at him and find that his testimony is believable?
Overall, if you're on the defense team, what do you need to do in the next days and weeks to come that you haven't really seen so far?
Well, if I'm on the defense team, I would want to point out that this is a political prosecution to the extent you can sneak that in. I would also point out that Michael Cohen has no credibility in light of the plea deals he's taken and some of the inconsistent statements that have been said over the years. And Stormy Daniels, when she takes the stand, will also be impeached in terms of inconsistent statements she said in the past. That's what they really need to focus on, the credibility of these two important witnesses.
We'll certainly be watching this one as it plays out over the next several weeks. Appellate attorney Jeff Lewis, thank you so much for your insight tonight.
Thank you.
Well, a potential vice